sky. I had seen it before. It turns truth into lies. Oh, but I won't back down. I must stay on this road. I gotta know what I'm about. It goes up and turns back down. We're all looking for the moment when getting used to not knowing when all the pieces fall in line. Oh, it goes up and turns back down. I keep searching for signs in my dreams back then, and I don't know how to stop, 'cause it brings back the feeling that I can't reach the top now, even if I don't know how. It brings back the feeling that even if it all goes down, in the end I'll be alright. It brings back the feeling. It brings back the
Do you have years of experience with something that you could actually help other people with? And you wonder, how do I get that out there? How do I get my message out there? How do I get heard? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Welcome, everybody. This is our special interview showcase all this week long. I'm so glad that you are here. Let us know you're here. Put in your first name, where you're watching from. We are broadcasting right now in 6 different locations across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And wherever you're watching us from, welcome tonight. I'm so glad that you're here hanging out with us for just a few minutes. So this week, I've kind of named it as Live Your Passion, because I want you to live your passion in 2021. Listen, for a lot of us, 2020 did not turn out the way that we had thought it would. But guess what? Your future has not been written yet. And right now, just maybe, might be the best time for you to get started. Maybe your job situation changed. Maybe things look different now than they did a year ago. And you wonder, you know what? It's about time I write that book, start that blog, do that podcast, or maybe even launch that website. And if you're like that and you're wondering, but how do I do it? Would anybody want to listen to me? This is where you need to be. So welcome, everybody. Glad that you're here. Just let us know your first name, where you're watching from, so we can say hello. I see we've got several people on now. Guys, welcome. Glad that you are here. So, so far today, we've had some amazing guests. This morning, or I guess I would just say around 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, we had Brian Dixon. He's the author of the book, Start With Your People. We had a great conversation around just being an entrepreneur and what it means to step into doing something new and different. Then at 3 o'clock, we had Oloria Petrucci, who is from Live Streaming Pros, who I learned a lot about how to do live streaming from. We had her here talking about the importance of being your authentic, vulnerable self. And that's how it is when you're live, right? You just kind of roll with the punches, you do what happens, and it's been that way all week long with the different interviews that we've had. We've had some amazing guests. So whether you want to write, you want to teach, you want to speak, you want to coach online, or you don't even know how to do any of that, you're in the right place tonight. So glad that you're here. So tonight's guest is Charles Wesson, and I'm so excited to share his story. I'll tell you why. Because his topic is directly relatable to where a lot of business owners are right now. In fact, if you know a restaurant owner, or if you're connected with the owner of a restaurant, would you do something right now? Would you share out this interview like right now? Because Charles Wesson works with restaurant owners in helping them to engage and even re-engage their inactive guest. And we all know what COVID has done with the pandemic. It's closed things down. It's had to make restaurants think differently about the way that they're serving, or maybe they were doing mobile online orders and now they're walking into that space, and they've got so many things they're trying to do to keep and attract guests. And so if you have a family member, if you are connected with somebody on Facebook who owns a business, maybe they're struggling and they're a little bit challenged right now. I want you to share it right now. Take a moment right now while you're watching, share this out. Or if you're even watching the replay right now, go ahead and share it, because this is going to be a super valuable, helpful discussion for them. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Charles into the show. And Charles, are you there?
Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
I'm doing good, my friend. I'm glad that you are here and excited to share a little bit of your story and experience with everyone. And we're just going to have a fun time. Just two guys hanging out, talking, and try to help some people out there. Yeah, on a Friday night, right? All right, so let's start, Charles, by telling people a little bit about what your business is about and who you serve.
Sure, Jonathan. Well, as you mentioned, I serve independent restaurant owners and operators, and I do help them engage, retain, and partner with their current customers in order to grow their restaurant profits. Times are incredibly, tough, and certainly COVID has hit this very industry, very hard. And when I was looking at determining what message I might be able to communicate, this kind of made sense. It was not so much an opportunistic venture, but it was more of a, hey, I have this experience, I have this mission, I would like to do this, and then COVID came along.
Yeah.
And that, hey, this is something I need to pursue.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it, right now, if anybody's watching and you know somebody who's a restaurant owner, or maybe you just have this favorite independent restaurant that you go to, right, on a regular basis, and you know that they're challenged or they're struggling a little bit, then send them this link. Let them be a part of hearing about a little bit about what Charles has to share with us tonight as we're hanging out here. So how'd you get into this? Maybe share a little bit about your background that kind of brings this this passion or desire to help other restaurant owners.
Sure. Well, I've had the opportunity to serve in customer engagement and marketing for decades. And more recently, I was serving as a certified restaurant trainer. And so I looked at the opportunity to try to be able to marry, the two. As we said, this industry has been hit very hard. The National Restaurant Association indicates that 1 in 6 restaurants have closed permanently or at least long term. So my goal is to help these restaurants prevent further closings and hopefully, partner with them in turning things around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love what you're doing and everything about it. So let's talk about this idea, and this is something that you're in the middle of right now. In fact, right before we got on, I was looking at your website. By the way, everybody, it's Charles Wesson, just like you see it spelled here, .com is where you can find him. And I'm just amazed at like how much you've done. I mean, really, it's like it's been a while since I've taken a look at this website, and I mean, you're doing awesome. So congrats. But at the same time, I know there's a learning curve, right? It's like not
Sure.
everybody understands all of this or trying to figure it out. And Charles, by the way, is a part of our insider community, which is a kind of a private mastermind that I run, where we work with and we put people in masterminds, and we're there to support, help, give feedback, encouragement. But still, I mean, you've done the work here, and the website it's killer. I love it. It looks really, really good. But here's what I would want to say. What were some of the biggest challenges when you first kind of got started in this, put stuff outline and consult and coach people? What have been some of the biggest challenges for you?
I've been wanting to start an online business for years. And so there were actually several challenges. First is I'm an introvert by nature. And I thought in order to operate and manage and run an online business, I had to be an extrovert. And I I soon found out that wasn't the case. Um, and as I mentioned earlier, I questioned whether my message was going to really matter.
Mm.
And COVID, unfortunately, or COVID proved that it did indeed matter.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just right in the right place. I'm, I pray that I'm helpful to these folks that I'm serving. But and it comes along with that comes the imposter syndrome that you mentioned in the first part of your book. Am I even qualified to share such a message? What if I screw up? I mean, what if I say this wrong? What if I do this wrong? You know what? I learned, put it out there, do your best, learn as you go, and keep making a difference. And the third item was in order to operate an online business properly, I felt I lacked the step-by-step guidance and any kind of support in order to make it happen effectively. So going into this, I felt I had like 3 strikes against me.
Yeah, and you know what? I bet a lot of people feel that way, and I know that they do because we struggle with all those things. Not too long ago, I put out a survey out there to our entire audience, and I asked them, when it comes to marketing your message, what's the single biggest challenge or frustration you've had? And clearly, I mean, even the stuff you talked about, mindset's a big one. Like, do I have something of value? Do I have something somebody would pay for? There's the comparison trap. We want to compare ourselves to other people. I was talking to Bob Loddick on Monday, who has a huge following on Christian personal finance, and we had that whole discussion. I was like, Bob, what if you would have said, a few years ago, well, Dave Ramsey has already, got the market. He already has his financial piece. Everybody knows about him. Why do we need another person talking about personal finance?
Sure.
And yet he is widely successful because there are people out there that will resonate with you. And there's plenty of people that need help. I mean, I don't even know, Charles, you may not even know the number, but I mean, how many restaurants are there in just Florida, for example, or how many restaurants in the United States? I mean, there's more restaurants and restaurant owners than coaches available to help them, right? And
Sure.
so that's the thing that we need to think about. Like I heard somebody once, and I know this is the same kind of idea, but I heard somebody once say that take any kind of city, and sometimes we think, well, there's too many churches in that city. But I heard one person say, like in my area of Jacksonville, there's 500 churches. And that sounds like a lot, but then they pointed out that if everybody in the city of Jacksonville decided they wanted to go to church on Sunday, there wouldn't be enough room for people to fit. And so this is the same kind of concept when you think about who you're helping. I mean, there's a whole sea of people out there that you can help. And I love that. And I think that's something important for us to remember, because sometimes we can have this small mind mentality of, oh, there's already other people, they're playing at a higher level. But no, somebody like yourself has that passion to help others. And that's what I want to talk about next. Why is this important for you to step into this and do something? And I know it's scary, I know it's uncertain, but why is it important for you to live your passion?
Well, as I mentioned, I've been wanting to operate an online business for years. And I spent a long time trying to determine what that needed to look like. And I didn't think that I was going to be successful with any degree of such, unless I did indeed operate from a level of passion, unless I lived, unless I, operated something that I was just truly deeply immersed in and passionate about. And so this very industry that treated me well and trained me, by the way, as now I have an opportunity to turn around and give back, if you will. Not that I've got, all the answers, but, at the same time, I'd like to provide a venue to where, hey, we can go through together and seek out and discover these answers together. So, I mean, it's important to me from a, from a give back perspective, Jonathan. It's something that I really believe in. Like I said, the industry gave me, some great opportunity, and I've also been a student of, like I said, customer engagement and marketing for decades now. So I think this is a great opportunity for me to, like I said, marry the two together and see what I can do to help some folks.
I love that. And the reason why this is so powerful is because for so many people, we feel like our only option is to just like work for the money, right? And it's like we only get to really live our lives on the weekends, and we're living for the weekends, and we dread Mondays, and we just think that that's just the only option. That's all that we can do. And the truth is, you can find something that not only you're able to do influence, but you're able to make impact and income. You can have all three. And for so many people that are working, it's I used to see this all the time where people they're doing a job and then they hand it off to somebody, and then they always wonder, am I making a difference with my work? I don't know if I'm making any kind of impact. I just do my thing. And then upper management does or chooses to use my ideas or do the thing or not do the thing. And so I think that's how it usually operates. But let me ask you this. So I want you to think about a success or a win so far. We talked a little bit about the challenges, but I want you to think about a success or a win so far for you that just makes you smile, makes you feel like, you know what? I am making some progress. I know for me, it was just a simple little AdSense click from an ad on my website that I looked at my ad account and saw that I made like 58 cents. And I was like, wait, somebody clicked on that and I just earned money, and I didn't do anything to earn it. Like, that's cool. How can I do more of that? And so, I mean, it could be a simple thing or it could be something else. It's fine. But I'm just curious, what's been a win or a success for you for actually taking action and starting charleswesson.com?
That's an easy one in my mind, Jonathan, because, you and I had our first one-on-one conversation 7 months ago. And in that conversation, you pointed out that every story of success is a story of community. And so one of my biggest successes, my biggest wins, is to finally pulling the trigger and joining the Market Your Message community and launching my website. After years and years of wanting to get something going, I heard you mention on an earlier interview, you don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going. Well, I always felt I had to have everything just right.
Yeah.
So I started out as a spectator, listening to your Blogging Your Passion podcast or reading some blog postings, and then started tuning into some of your Facebook live stream episodes. And it wasn't long before I realized, you know what? This community offers the very solutions to the challenges that I've mentioned a few minutes ago. And so I was so grateful. I considered a win that I pulled the trigger and jumped in, because as a result, I'm now surrounded by peers, coaches, even you as a mentor, and all of you are invested in my success and me getting the message out to my audience.
Absolutely. And I love that. And, whether that's, our community, if you're for people that are watching, use this lesson. This lesson is mentoring is the great accelerator. And you can use this idea of find a mentor who shares not only what you want to accomplish, but also I think it's important to find mentors who share your same values.
Sure.
Because I think we often forget about that. We're like, oh, well, then I'm going to find that mentor that's a billionaire, but his life is a complete mess. So, maybe we don't want to take his route of 2 hours of sleep per night. And so you got to make sure you find a mentor that shares both what you want to accomplish and the values that you want to have as well. And I think that's a great example. So kudos to you. Well, what's next for you in 2021? Anything specific you're working on?
I am continuing to promote my online presence to the restaurant industry, trying to establish myself as that go-to marketing or customer engagement resource, for these restaurant owners and operators, which I serve. And secondly, I'm looking to help this audience achieve their goals by going out there and trying to get an idea of, it is something that you taught me early on. Hey, as it pertains to customer engagement or marketing your restaurant business, what are some things that you're struggling with? What are some things help with? What are your immediate needs? And certainly COVID has ramped up those immediate needs. I'm not even sure, have a clue what those might be, but it takes getting out there, communicating with your potential audience, and find out what those needs are. Now, once I find out what they are, then I can, start having some conversations, start going to work to develop some resources, whether it be online courses or other tools, down the road. But I think first things first is, just trying to get that information so I know what my audience is in need of, what they want, what's truly going to help. Because it doesn't matter what I think they need. It's fruitless if I try to go out on my own without having this pre-qualifying conversation.
Yeah, that's such great advice. Ryan Levesque's been a mentor of mine, and he always said that your message. Well, he doesn't say it this way. I kind of crafted it differently, but your message should come from your market, not your mind. And that's where he used to say your copy, your sales letter, your information, whatever it is, your courses should come from your market, not your mind. And so I think your message should come from your market, not your mind. And you got to ask them. I know I've oftentimes thought I knew exactly what the challenges were that my audience faced. And I've been surprised that I was going about it all wrong. And so that's a good takeaway. So I want to talk about your this checklist that you've created. So it is charleswesson.com/checklist. And by the way, if any of you are restaurant owners that are watching either live or the replay, or you know of a restaurant owner, you need to forward them this link. So I'm going to put it over in YouTube because I just happen to have that open. But if you're not on YouTube, again, charleswesson.com/checklist. Also, if you're a subscriber to Market Your Message, we sent an email out early today to this PDF. And I want you to talk about it for a minute. Here's what this checklist is for everybody that's wondering. It's a free checklist, and it's called How to Win Back Your Lost Customers, even if you don't know where or how to start. Download this comprehensive yet simple 5-page checklist to re-engage your inactive guests, reduce costs, and create a cash flow surge for your restaurant. So anything you'd like to add on who this is for and what they can get from this checklist?
I will start out by saying I chose the checklist format because I know restaurant operators, they're all about the checklist.
I love it.
Whether it be an opening checklist, whether it be food prep checklist, whether during the course of the meal periods and so forth. And then you've eventually got the closing checklists and so forth. So that just seemed to be a no-brainer to me. But here's why I am taking this kind of approach. I am looking at these operators reaching out to their pre-existing guests. I'm not, especially in the time of these economic, issues through COVID. I'm trying to find ways that they can harness the power and the success of the low hanging fruit, their existing customers. So whether it's going back to trying to re-engage with your existing and reconnecting with them and trying to get them to come back and see you. I'm also looking at other possibilities of your current guests setting up a referral system to get your existing guests to bring in new friends and family. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for investing in acquiring new customers, new guests in your restaurant, but especially during this time, let's where resources are so few and things are so uncertain. Um, I'm just looking for ways to go ahead and utilize what we already have in place at pretty much a high impact, low cost or no cost sort of strategy.
I love that. So high impact, but not, it might be something you don't even know. You might just be one idea away from it changing around your restaurant, right? And
It could happen.
so that's how valuable this checklist is. So again, everybody, if you're watching, if you know of a restaurant owner, forward them this video today, or you can simply just copy and paste this link. I put it over on YouTube, but it's charleswesson.com/checklist, and they can grab this awesome guide that's going to help them with all the things, re-engage inactive guests, reduce costs, and create a cash flow surge. So I love that. I want to switch it just for the kind of the last part of this, and I want to switch the conversation a little bit to people who are watching right now, and they're like, you know what? I have some experience that might be valuable. Maybe I should start a blog. Maybe I should launch a website, but they're on the fence. Quite frankly, there's all these excuses, or there's these things that are holding them back. What would you say to somebody who's on the fence now that you are where you are? What would you say to somebody who's on the fence, or maybe even just like the younger version of yourself before you bought the domain and decided to finally jump in?
Yeah. Here's what I would say, Jonathan. And if you'll allow me to break the fourth wall here, I'm going to speak direct to our fence sitters. Okay. Look, folks, I understand the fence sitting. I've been there. It seemed like forever before, you thought that something might happen. I, I spent years literally trying to, convince myself that I was doing my due diligence when in fact I was just, being reluctant to pull the trigger. So, I understand, I've been there, but, here's what I found out. In this conversation I mentioned that I had with Jonathan 7 months ago, Jonathan said, hey, go out to your prospective audience and reach out to them and communicate to them and say, hey, as it pertains to achieving this goal, and whether that goal is, growing a business, growing relationships, heck, growing prize winning roses, as it pertains to achieving this goal, how do you like to receive your information?
Mm.
Now, if you learn that they like to receive it in written form, maybe you consider, blog posting. If they prefer an audio, look into the potential of a podcast for yourself. If it's video, then YouTube channel, maybe somewhere down a Facebook live stream. But the deal is you've got to get off the fence. And I would wrap that part up by saying, look, if not you, then who?
Mm.
And if not now, then when?
I love that. That's so good, Charles. It's just a reminder to all of us that, you know what, we got to just get in the game. What's the downside? I think sometimes we think that there's this big downside, this big scary downside, and that once you get into it a little while, you realize there's not really this big scary downside, right? Like I'm looking at your blog, and you've launched your blog just in this, last month, maybe since November, it looks like. I mean, there's some amazing resources here that you're already starting to develop. And the point I want to make to everybody is, what's the harm in putting out a blog post every week over the course of a year? You know what you're going to get? You're going to get clarity on your own topic. You are going to create this body of work that you can begin to share with people as you come in contact with them. And I mean, there's not a huge downside. I mean, I'm seeing stuff like on your blog, like want loyal guests, then you must cultivate loyal employees. Well, restaurants need loyal employees. There's some tips there from Charles, and Charles talks about what makes guests come back to do business with you. Another just fantastic article as well. And how can guest loyalty and retention help your restaurant financially? So if you know out there, if you know of a restaurant owner, again, I want to encourage you to have them check out charleswesson.com. You can also get the checklist as well to help them. And yeah, anything like parting thoughts or any last things that maybe we didn't talk about that you'd like to share?
Jonathan, I will mention this. You'd referred to your earlier interview earlier this week with Bob Loddick. And in your conversation, you gentlemen referred to building a business, somewhat like constructing a building, brick by brick. And if you'll allow me to, kind of continue that analogy,
Yep.
I'm going to go back to that one-on-one conversation, the first one I had, the transformative conversation, where you said to me, and I was big time fence sitter, and you mentioned to me, look, you can't begin building anything until you first put your shovel in the ground.
Mm.
So once again, folks, I'm going to speak directly to you. Get off the fence. Stop leaning on the shovel. Because you know what? It's your message. It's your voice. And it's your time.
Mm. I love that. There's a saying that I heard not too long ago that said you can't lean on the shovel and pray for a hole. And I think a lot of times, there's a lot of truth to that in a lot of ways, right? It's like, I kind of want to do this thing, but then I don't really do the activity to dig the hole. So you can't lean on the shovel and pray for a hole.
Nope.
There you go. I love it. All right. Well, how can people connect with you online? I kind of already told people, but maybe you have some other places. I wanted to allow you to answer that. What's the best way for people who are watching, a restaurant owner who catches this interview now or later? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
As I'm still kind of a newbie to the business, I am still working on my online presence through social media, primarily through LinkedIn and Facebook. But for now, I would absolutely be thrilled if you'd reach out to me on my website at charleswesson.com.
Perfect. That's the place to go. You can find articles. You can get the checklist. There's some good stuff coming. I know you there's a store page. It's something that you're working on that you talked about earlier about potentially launching some online courses, things like that could help. So love it. Well, Charles, thanks for being here tonight. Thank you for what you're doing to help restaurant owners. And just so glad to have you.
Jonathan, thanks so much. It's been my pleasure.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. All right, everybody. Did you enjoy Charles? I hope you did. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. If you're watching this replay and you know of maybe you have a favorite local restaurant that you go to, and maybe you have a connection with them, maybe you're connected on Facebook, or maybe you have family members, aunts, uncles, cousins, people who are restaurant owners, send them to Charles. Charles could be a big help to them right now, especially with all that's going on. All right, so all this week, we've been doing Live Your Passion. And maybe you're like, Jonathan, I don't even know what that is. I don't know my calling. I don't know how I show up best. Well, I want to invite you to something new that we're going to be doing next week. This is brand new, and it's called Uncover Your Calling Challenge. So we're going to be doing a 5-day challenge next week called Uncover Your Calling Challenge. It's 100% free. You just go to jmill.biz. That's just short for my name, jmill.biz/calling. Go there, enter in your name and email address, and we will give you a link to join our private Facebook group. So this private Facebook group is just for people who sign up for the challenge. And it's going to be starting next week on Wednesday. It's going to be day 1. And for 5 days, I'm going to show up live in that Facebook group and give you one exercise each day to help you uncover what's unique about you. What are your natural gifts? What are your strengths? And you say, Jonathan, I don't know. Well, here's the saying that a mentor told me years ago. You can't read the label when you're inside the bottle. Think about it. You can't read the label when you're inside the bottle. See, what does that mean? We can't see our own value. We can't see our own strengths. We discount it. As Brian Dixon said earlier today, what's ordinary to you is magic to others. And what we need are outside voices, outside perspectives to help us. And I'm going to be giving you some exercises, PDF exercises, some assessments to help you at the end of those 5 days uncover that thing. You see, I believe your calling is really, it's not in a thing, right? Our passions change, and it's okay for our passions to change. But our calling is what's changeless about ourselves. And you see, I discovered through this process, and I'm going to be teaching it next week, that I was a resourceful teacher. That is how I showed up, a practical, resourceful teacher. Once I began to discover that thing, then I started finding ways to apply it. So I started with blogging. I could be a resourceful teacher through blogging. Then it was a podcast. Then I started a membership site. Now I've started a live stream show because I love interacting with all of you. And now I know that whatever my passion is in the future, the way that I can help show up best for people is to be that resourceful teacher. I want you to have that kind of crystal clear clarity about yourself and about your calling. So again, just go to jmill.biz/calling. Sign up for this free 5-day challenge next week. Join me, and I'll see you live each day next week. All right, everybody, that is it for tonight. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.